The dark and terrifying world of human trafficking shows no mercy, preying on the weak and vulnerable from all walks of life. This modern-day form of enslavement thrives in the shadows, manipulating, coercing, and forcing its victims into a life of misery. These victims are often people facing desperate economic situations or social isolation, making them easy prey for this despicable industry. It's a crime that exists right within our own borders, with California being a hotbed for these heinous acts. In just 2018 alone, there were 1,656 reported cases of human trafficking in California, including 110 that involved both labor and sex trafficking, as well as 151 cases solely involving labor trafficking. But behind these staggering numbers are real people whose lives have been irreparably damaged by those who see them as mere commodities to be bought and sold. Welcome back to No Tears for Black Girls. In today's episode, we delve into the harrowing world of human trafficking and organized crime, spotlighting a case that casts a dark shadow over Riverside County, California. Join us as we unravel the chilling story of a woman who we will only refer to as Jane Doe, a desperate mother ensnared by a local gang. Forced into creating pornography for OnlyFans, Jane Doe's horrifying ordeal began with a retaliation plot by notorious inmate Richard Ryan. This gripping tale reveals the unyielding power these criminals wield, even behind bars, and the tireless efforts of law enforcement to piece together this sordid puzzle. From illegal gambling dens to violent extortion schemes, we expose the sinister underbelly of crime lurking just beneath the surface of seemingly innocent surroundings. Stay tuned for an episode that sheds light on a world where desperation meets depravity, and the fight for justice never ceases. In 2018, the grim reality of Los Angeles was brought to light when Pretty Ho, a notorious sex worker, was charged with sex trafficking young girls. Melanie Danae Williams, known for her online persona as the most hated prostitute in LA, allegedly recruited minors for prostitution and subjected them to physical abuse. Her website glorified her criminal activities and even featured a logo of a gun bearing her social media handle. But behind this facade of audaciousness lay a disturbing truth. Williams had been previously arrested on Christmas Eve for violently assaulting one of her victims. Now facing multiple charges that could result in a life sentence, Williams will finally face justice for her atrocious deeds. The FBI and Los Angeles Sheriff's Department have diligently investigated this case, while 2 assistant United States attorneys work to prosecute it. And although this may seem like just another tale of misdeed and retribution, it serves as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the glittering surface of LA's streets. But just beyond the peaceful facade of Riverside County, California, lay a dark underbelly teeming with criminal activity and corruption. The small, unassuming clothing store in Riverside County seemed like any other on the surface. But as investigators delved deeper, they uncovered a seedy underbelly that had been hiding in plain sight. Hidden behind a locked door in the back of the store, authorities discovered illegal gambling machines and a grimy stripper pole, evidence of heinous crimes taking place within those walls. But it was the locked bathroom that revealed the true horrors. Inside, a terrified woman known only as Jane Doe had been held captive and forced into creating pornography for OnlyFans by a local gang. This latest case shed light on a disturbing trend among criminal organizations in the area, expanding their illicit enterprises to include not only drug trafficking and extortion, but also pornography and gambling. The victim's ordeal began after she was involved in seizing funds believed to belong to notorious inmate Richard Ryan. In retaliation, Ryan and his 2 accomplices kidnapped her and subjected her to unspeakable acts. However, even from behind bars, Ryan still held power over his criminal empire, raking in thousands of dollars each week through protection payments from businesses in Riverside County. But when Jane Doe's captors lost this source of income, they turned to desperate measures. Ryan used a contraband cell phone to order former gang member Jason Rudolph to kidnap her. Though initially compliant, Rudolph eventually released the victim after receiving even more sinister orders from his boss. Rudolph wasn't just involved in kidnapping, he also extorted money from gas station owners by distributing illegal gambling apps on their premises. These apps, including Riversweeps, Fire Curin, Skillmine, and VegasX, were lucrative sources of revenue for local gangs. One associate even admitted that these criminal organizations profit from both drugs and software. However, one particular gas station owner refused to comply with Rudolph's demands, prompting threats from none other than Richard Ryan himself. It seemed that no one was safe from the control of this depraved mastermind who continued to wield power over the streets, even from behind bars. But thanks to the efforts of a small-town sheriff's deputy and FBI agent Benjamin Beck, the pieces of this heinous puzzle began to come together. Rudolph was arrested after being caught on surveillance footage arriving at the gas station in a sleek black Cadillac CTS, a clear sign of his involvement. And later that same night, another similar vehicle was pulled over, bringing investigators one step closer to connecting all the dots in this twisted true crime story. Jane Doe, a desperate and troubled mother, sat nervously in the back seat of the police car as they found over $7,000 in her possession. The deputies had their suspicions. It was all too common for ruthless gangs to extort money from small business owners operating within their territory. And Jane Doe's connection to notorious criminal Rudolph only solidified their beliefs. In her testimony, Jane Doe revealed that she had been introduced to Rudolph at an underground gambling den. These secretive haunts were known for attracting dangerous individuals, making them prime spots for organized crime. Rudolph saw an opportunity with Jane Doe and suggested a business arrangement. But when she refused, he showed his true colors. A woman brutally assaulted Jane Doe at a local nightclub, orchestrated by Rudolph himself. He then called someone named Ryan and forced Jane Doe into paying him monthly protection fees. In return, Ryan made her perform unspeakable acts on camera and posted them to a notorious swingers website. Terrified for the safety of her daughters, Jane Doe kept quiet about the situation until it all came crashing down during a routine traffic stop where the cash was discovered. She claimed it all belonged to Rudolph, who had threatened to make her lose something she'd never forget if she didn't retrieve it. But this wasn't Rudolph's first brush with violence or criminal activity. At just 18 years old, he received 3 consecutive life sentences for attempting to murder 3 men, more than even the infamous Unabomber. During his parole hearing in 2015, he showed no remorse and maintained his innocence. Determined to make a name for himself and gain notoriety within the prison system, Rudolph spared no expense. He ended up at Pelican Bay, one of the most notorious maximum security prisons housing some of the most high-profile offenders. But even behind bars, Rudolph's thirst for fame and power could not be quenched. He actively sought out opportunities to write his memoirs or have them turned into a movie. However, his troubled journey began long before his incarceration, bouncing between foster homes and relatives due to his parents' run-ins with the law and mental health issues. Eventually finding stability with his grandmother in South Los Angeles, Rudolph fell under the influence of older gang members who promised him respect and power through their violent reputation. And at just 17 years old, he solidified his place within the gang by committing a triple shooting at a fast food restaurant. Lil Demon had found his new family, but it would ultimately lead him down a path of destruction and a lifetime behind bars. Years later, Ryan would become a notorious gang member known as D-Rock, driven by an insatiable hunger for power and wealth. His paths never crossed with Rudolph's, but they struck a lucrative deal nonetheless. $5,000 every month in exchange for protection and acceptance within the ruthless gang. It was all paid through J-Pay, a system designed to launder money from illegal activities. But when Jane Doe stumbled into their twisted world and lost $7,000, she was dragged to a rundown storefront that masqueraded as a women's clothing shop, but served as a hub for organized crime. There, she endured 4 harrowing days of starvation and sexual abuse at the hands of not only Rudolph, but also his accomplice Matthews, known as Infant Stone. When Ryan gave the order for Rudolph to physically harm Jane Doe, he surprisingly disobeyed and left her bathroom door unlocked. With sheer determination and help from an unlikely bystander, Jane Doe escaped using a tire as leverage. She was immediately rushed to the hospital, where authorities interviewed her and traced the storefront back to Rudolph. He was arrested on charges of kidnapping, but tried to absolve himself by claiming he only followed Ryan's orders in order to survive. Yet in his statement to deputies, he also revealed the dark truth that once you're sucked into the treacherous world of gangs, there is no way out except death or prison. Thank you for tuning in to No Tears for Black Girls. This series is skillfully crafted by acclaimed writer and producer John Reedberg with the guidance of unapologetic host Samantha Paul. Catch new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday on all major podcast platforms. You can listen anywhere, anytime. And if you truly enjoy our content, please leave a 5-star rating and positive review. Remember to stay loved, stay blessed, and stay safe.